Fucking
Fucking
fuck.
fuck. That's it. That's it, Maz. This is episode 9. We are still, what do you call it? Like
On Zoom.
estranged lovers. Is that
Strange
a
lovers
fair
like it.
is that a fair classification?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I haven't seen you in person. Like uh, this is the longest probably I haven't seen you since we became friends, right?
Yeah, but I saw you for episode 8 for like I was in Sydney for like 2 days. We recorded an episode, the New Year's one.
That wasn't like a proper
It was a proper catch up, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't a proper catch up. Not quite enough time to, get into the deep juicy stuff that we usually do.
Yeah, well look, I'm in Adelaide at the moment. I swear I'm always in Adelaide. But Maz, I hear that you are going to some random hippie cult festival where they're gonna touch each other's bumholes.
I don't know about the bumhole part, but I am going to one, and I genuinely reckon this is probably like the max of the hippie line, and I actually don't know if I'm hippie enough for this yet. So we'll,
Whoa.
we'll find out.
Fucking fuck. Let's go. Go do meditation. Go do
Like so
meditation.
red. I was like, man, she's not gonna get me to sit down for months.
Really?
For masturbation. Like,
Before we wrap up, I want to get my religious frustration out. I wasn't empathizing with Hitler.
Fucking fuck.
anything you want to do, you can.
I'll be a professor. Wink, wink.
Clearly, you spent too much time on Pornhub.
Wait, hippie. First, can you just explain what it is you're going to?
So it's called Rainbow Gathering. And it doesn't. The rainbow doesn't refer to the LGBTQ community. It's like I think it was there before that was a thing. Um, so it's a community gathering. I don't know how many people will come. I have very little information about this place. I just spontaneously decided to go because someone was talking about it one time and they spoke of it very highly, like it had a lot of positive impact for them.
So this is like the whole the other cult thing you went to. Like you just don't know anything about it and you just go
Yeah,
and you
that's
see what
it.
happens.
That's it. But this one's a lot of like effort too because it's in Northern Rivers, so it's a long drive. And
It's so ambiguous. Surely you have more information.
so all I know is it's a community gathering, literally like people gonna run workshops probably, most likely. Um, there'll be like a communal kitchen. Um, yeah, I really don't know what it's gonna be like, so I can't talk too much about it until I've done it. I
So
am
why are you
trying to
going if you
find
don't know anything about it?
I am trying to find a little bit more information just to see if there's any reception there, how many people come and things like that. I've sort of asked a couple of people, they haven't gotten back to me yet. I so
Well, then why are you going?
why I'm going is two reasons. One,
Find a wife.
I mean that's another reason to make it three. One, there was a guy I spoke to, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something. Um, and I'm sort of inspired by him.
Mm.
He seems to get it, whatever it is. I don't want to get into defining it, but
Mm.
yeah, he seems to get it, get life and live a good life. And I'm a bit inspired by him. And he talked about going to this thing and it being utterly transformative for him. So I was interested in doing this, and I tried to find the dates. Like that's the thing; it's like so hard to find information on this because I tried to find when the dates are, so I could like organize it and go to it, but I couldn't even find when the dates are. So I sort of gave up on it, and
And then it came back all of a sudden.
it came back all of a sudden. So on Friday, I had a authentic relating workshop, which was really amazing, and I just happened to overhear a conversation someone was having with someone else about rainbow
God's
gathering.
plan.
And then I ended up talking to that person a lot more after the workshop and got the info about the dates and the stuff. I'm like looking at my calendar, there's like all these things that are like in those days. I'm like, am I willing to like not go to all these things to go to this thing that I don't really know what it is, but I really feel
And you
like I
did.
want to do it? And I did. I mean,
Right
I
away.
made it shorter. So the actual thing is for 28 days. I'm not going for 28. I'm going for 21. So I cut like 3 days at the beginning and 4 days at the end, and that sort of allows me to do some of the things that I had planned in my calendar. Um,
Wait, I have two questions. I have two questions.
yeah, go.
No, so first thing is you said I don't know if I'm hippie enough for this event. So is to me hippie as much as like I love to do hippie stuff, to me it still has a negative connotation. So I've never heard someone aspire to a level of hippiness. So I'm curious, what like do you want to
Well,
like
we've talked
what does hippie mean? You want to become like loose and goosey and I don't know I don't know how else to define hippiness.
we've talked about this a bit before. It's the connotation. I don't. I mean, it's a framework, right? Like it's just a word, and what the word means to people depends on what lenses they have on life and whatnot. I guess for me, hippie is um. It's an interesting question. How do I define what hippie means?
I can chime in if you're stuck.
Yeah, you chime in, and I'll see if my definition comes up after
Yeah,
you've
like
talked about it. Yeah,
to
what does it mean
me,
to you?
being a hippie means being an outsider, being on the fringes of society. To me, being a hippie is you don't fully conform, so you're like a non-conformist by definition.
Mhm.
And you're extremely open-minded. So you're non-conformist, you're extremely open-minded, and you are not really a part of society. So those are the three things that establish hippiness to me. Would you agree?
I really like the first two. The last one, I'm not sure. Can you tell me a bit more about what you mean by you're not part of the society? Well, what makes someone a part of a society that then hippies aren't? And
But I guess I feel like not being part of society, it's probably the same thing as being non-conformist. Um, it's
so, but you said them as if they are different things. So, is there a
yeah.
difference?
So I think what I meant to say not being part of society is that I feel like to me the example of an extreme hippie is someone who doesn't have a full-time job, doesn't as a result doesn't pay taxes, as a result like doesn't want to buy a house, doesn't want to buy property, doesn't want to participate in the things that majority of society is partaking in. And from the hippies' perspective, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. They're resisting the material urges. They're trying to become detached from materialism and capitalism. But when I see someone who's a hippie, they're not a part of society. They are a part of their own rainbow fucking club. They- So that's what I mean.
I like that. That's a pretty good definition, I would say, actually. Especially the open-minded, the non-conformist, and sort of living by your own terms. And those terms may or may not agree with the society. So like
It's very fluid. It's very fluid, and there's a huge spectrum. It's not like a one thing, but I think by definition, you have to be non-conformist and open-minded. Like that's
yeah.
non-negotiable to be identified as
I
a
mean
hippie.
I think maybe instead of the word non-conformist, going by living on your own terms, I think it's better because if my terms, if I agree with something the way it is in the society, I will conform to it happily. So it's about like But if there's something that I deeply disagree with, I won't conform, or I might not conform, depending on the consequences and whatnot. So
No,
I
I
think.
get that. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I still think there's an element of
So you think
non-conform.
there's a rebellion? There's like a rebellious in
I
there?
think so. I think so. Like I think when you
Like,
say I might not be
do you
hippie,
think they're non-conformist for the sake of being non-conformist, or is that what you're saying? Like,
well, I
they're
think
actually.
like any other movement, I think there's a ratio of them which are like the masses, the flock, the sheep, who are just nonconformists for the vibes. They're nonconformists for the sake of being nonconformist. But I'm sure there's a ratio, a proportion of hippies that are exactly as you described. They are living their own path and they think and they're not just doing it for the sake of it.
Well,
But I do think the
for
masses
me, it would
is
definitely
the
fall
vibe.
into that category. Like, I wouldn't just be non-conformist for the sake of it. I would do it if it's feels like the right thing to do or the right way to be. Um, but I wouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it. But let's actually talk a bit more about so you said something about like a full-time job and buying a house and all that stuff. That's actually let's go into that. Like, I'm really
Okay.
interested in that because I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do after this year. So this year is like a year of exploration for me. Like, I'm not going uni. I'm gonna like do different odd casual jobs or whatever. And I've got heaps of travel plans and I've got some money saved up so I can do them. And but after this year finishes, I need to like figure out what I'm gonna do next year, right?
Mm.
Um, and I don't know, like that's something I'm thinking and considering, and it just sort of so when you said that, it sort of got me interested. So what is your views on? Do you think a full-time job and striving to buy a property is essential to a good life?
Okay, so I was having a conversation with someone very close to me recently, and we kind of had this conversation. We had like a very deep DNM, and
Mm-hmm.
the conclusion we came to, and I'm going a bit deeper than you probably want in terms of answering this question,
No,
but
I'll go as deep as you want, bro.
I think
I like it deep.
it should cover many bases. But I think the conclusion I came to was it's all about like true contentment or true happiness, as far as I understand it, is when you no longer crave, when you're no longer trying to like it's contentment, it's equanimity as you and Matt described in episode 1. And I
Mm-hmm,
think
mm-hmm.
the thing that the problem with, you know, full-time job, buying a house, buying a car, wanting a partner, wanting a dog, wanting to travel, the issue with all of these things is that we desire these objects or these things in order to feel something. So it's like it's like we're trying to achieve something, some feeling, and we have
Mm-hmm.
these beliefs that these things will help us feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think the issue with, like, for example, I see in many relationships is many people are many couples, many husbands and wives, they are not necessarily, at least in my eyes, they're not necessarily in love with each other, but they're in love with the title, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that.
So it's like they don't desire that person, they desire something to fill that spot. Do you know what I mean? So it's like right now we jokingly said, "Oh, Maz, you're going to look for a wife, yeah?" Right now, you don't know. Like, there's not a particular person in your mind. I'm just assuming that you're like, oh, like that person I want for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's more like there is an empty spot in 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 your life or in your mind or in your heart or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And you're just looking for another human to be a means to an end. So you're just using that person, whoever it is, we still haven't met that person. One day you'll meet that person to fill that role that you fantasized about, since you were a kid. So I think a house and a full-time job is the same way. We have these narratives that we're told since we were very, very young, and we're looking for a job to provide us with the things that we think will fulfill us. So it's like everything is a means to an end. Everything is just another step to get to something that we imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I just went on a bit of a tangent, but like
No. So basically, what you're saying is that hippies are right. I don't know. That's what it sounds like. But so jokes aside, I feel like I'm in two hearts about what you say. There's a lot of it that I resonate with really strongly.
okay.
But then there's also like, because I was also talking with someone last night actually. So that's why I actually said let's talk about this topic. And he was sort of giving me a bit of advice on life. And he was like, I'm just going to share my thoughts, like take what you want, leave what you want, whatever. And he was sort of talking about, when you have a job becomes part of your identity. So he's got a kid, and his kid told him, Dad, what are you good at? So I can go tell my, friends.
Okay.
And then when he got asked that, he was like, I'm good at teaching, because he's a teacher. And it got him to, like, he taught for a few seconds because, before he used to do IT and there's all these kind of things. So he was like sort of thinking, what am I good at? What am I really good at? And then he was sort of saying, Maz, you're doing all these different things, you do these workshops, you do these NDIS, like all these other things, right? But you don't have like one thing that you sort of is your main thing. You're sort of spreading yourself across all these things. And he was saying maybe think about having something that's your main thing that you do. And I listened to that and I'm thinking about it, and I feel like there's benefits to what he had to say, like having stable. So some of the things we want, like if you have a job and that can get you money so you can do things, right? But some of those things are definitely things that are like sort of distraction based, or you're trying to find contentment through material positions or whatever. But there's also things you genuinely need, right? Like you need shelter, you need food, you need so there are actual needs too, right? So there's a balance in that. You can't say, oh yeah, it's all for desire and attachment. You can just zen out and become non-attached to everything and you will be content ever after, right? So that doesn't really work, because we still have this body that has needs that is required to get taken care of in some way.
Yeah, of course.
And actually, I would put a romantic partner in the group of needs as well, because it's kind of like a human need. Like sex is literally one of the least like basic human needs. Sex is one of them in a lot of the lists that I've looked at. In
Monks would disagree with you, but yeah, okay, I agree.
who?
Monks.
Well, they've suppressed. They have not suppressed, but surpassed That was it. Mind blank. They have surpassed that need, so they've gone beyond
They
it. And
tell you, mate.
Sorry?
That's what they tell you. You don't know what they do in the dark rooms.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of monks you've been around, but
No,
yeah.
but I just want to say I agree with what you're mentioning, and I think my biggest emphasis, I'm not arguing for like absolute hippiness. What I'm arguing for is it's more Kantian in a way of saying that things shouldn't be a means to an end. You know what I mean? So even that full-time job, like of course we all need shelter, we all need food, we all need prosperity, we have needs, we have sexual needs, we have all these needs. But I think what I'm trying to say is if you were to be the architect of your life, let's just say you had so much power, you could have anything you wanted, you could design your life in a way that would lead to the most fulfillment. I think you shouldn't work just for shelter. You know, I think in an ideal world, you enjoy your work in and of itself. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily enjoy it just because it provides you something. Same with a relationship. You don't want that person to just fulfill your sexual needs, or you don't want that person just to be a trophy wife to just show your friends off. If someone asks you, Maz, why are you with this person, and your reasons are all external things that they provide you, then I'm saying that's not the path to fulfillment. I'm
Oh,
saying the
I
path to
agree.
fulfillment is in and of itself. That moment, it's about being present. In that moment, you don't have to think about the future. You don't have to think about anything else. You're just content in that moment with that person or with that job or with that house or whatever the fuck. I'm getting a bit lost in my own words.
No, so I understand what you mean by that. I agree with that. But it's sort of not talking about like it's a different line of thinking. So
Okay.
what I was talking about is the stability of having a job or a role that's sort of consistent. You know, you got these hours, these days, and like sort of consistent, stable, and
But I don't disagree with that. So I'm interested. Like, are you
I don't
suggesting?
that I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I that's the thing. That's I'm trying to figure that out for myself. So my friend was saying that's really important. Like go for that. Find that in your life. Because at the moment I do like all these really different things. Like I've got heaps of different casual roles and here and there I'm doing this and doing that. And he's like,
So you're
that
starting
doesn't give
a.
you stability.
It's a bit of
So
a different topic though. Are you linking it
yeah,
back to happiness or are you starting a new fresh topic?
sorry.
Are you linking it to the hippie conversation or are you starting a new topic?
I think it is inherently linked to the hippie conversation because my experience of people I know, well, not everyone, there's obviously a range, but some of the people I know, I would say at least half from such communities tend to have more of a lifestyle than me, like my current sort of like my current situation where I've got like different sources of income that are not necessarily stable, um, than to have a stable full-time job. So I think it is linked
Okay,
because
I have a way to answer your question.
yeah, go on.
I think and let me know if I'm going off like what I think it might indirectly answer your question. I think about the hippie topic, I think what I wanted to ask you is and this is something that I've been concerned about you in I don't know, last few weeks, last few months, even your plans for the year is look, in one frame of mind, let's just say frame of mind A, what
Uh-huh.
you're doing is you're living your best life, you're pushing yourself to the extreme when it comes to hippiness. You're going to the fringes of hippiness. You're um following, you're non-conforming, you're open-minded, all of these things, and
Uh-huh.
you're exploring. It's amazing.
Uh-huh.
And This is what you're doing right now. That's option A. Option B is kind of what your friend is mentioning, saying that there should be more moderation, stability has its benefits. And I just want to advocate for option B for a second. I want to argue against option A, against the fully free hippie lifestyle. And my argument is, I think as human beings, we're innately social beings. My personal opinion is, in order to be fulfilled, in order to be happy, we need to partake in some form of society. I don't think we can just rough it out on our own. And I think the further down the hippie path you go, the more ostracized you're becoming from the rest of society. The more detached you become, the less easy it is for everyday people to relate to you, and the less easy it becomes for you to relate to everyday people's frustrations and issues. So my whole perspective is that you're becoming distant from society, and then as a result, there's no stability, and as a result, you won't find.
I don't know if I agree with that. So I think you made like a assumption in there that I don't think is true. That I'm becoming more distant from other people's experience of life, and I'm less able to relate to them. I would literally say it's the opposite. So, like when I did the Lifeline for 2 years, picking up the phones and listening to people's whatever is going on for them, one of the things that really did for me was it showed me how broad the experiences of humans are, because you're talking to completely random people and in their darkest moments. So you hear like all these life stories that are so vastly different to what you would normally hear when you talk to people. And I would say, if anything, that's allowed me to relate better to people.
Wait, I'm so confused. So what's that Lifeline got to do with, like, of course, Lifeline is going to help you connect with people, but what's that got to do with the other stuff you're doing?
So that's the thing. When I go and experience all these different experiences on the fringe, like I'm broadening the total experiences that I've had, and that makes me more able to relate to others, because I've had all these other experiences that I can now use as a form of relating to other people's experiences.
But
so that's how.
I still disagree. I still think that the way you're describing, so you're saying you're broadening your experiences.
Like, so say you've never traveled before. Let's imagine you have not traveled before, and someone comes and speaks to you about excitedly about a travel plan they have, and they're like really hyped up about it, they're really excited, and because you've never traveled, you don't really maybe get their excitement, so you're relating with them less. But if you've traveled before and you've had some experience traveling, you sort of get their excitement. So then you can relate to them more closely.
So that I understand fully, and that logic is clear as day. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is, I think the experiences that you're having, so you're describing as you're broadening your experiences in order to relate to more people. But I think the experiences you're having are not broad. The activities that you're participating in are a very, very, very small part of the human experience. It's a very tiny, minuscule niche community that has niche experiences that the rest of the world cannot relate to.
I mean,
well, all of these things, darkness retreat, vipassana, rainbow thing, brotherhood, brother, like all of these things, or even things like
Burning Man.
These are all, you're stuck on the fringe and you're in a very, very niche group within that fringe. So I think, and that's why I'm saying, I don't think you're broadening your experience. I think it's the opposite. I think you're narrowing your experiences. Like it feels like you're broadening it, but I don't think from the outside that I'm looking at, it doesn't look like you're broadening it. Like I think broadening is like, for example, you're going to I don't know, the darkness retreat. So you're going overseas, you're going to Southeast Asia, but you're in a cave with a certain number of people. Or when you're going to the El Camino walk, you're going to Europe for a month, but you're doing a very specific, particular walk that a specific, particular type of people sign up for. You're not experiencing per
Actually,
se what the rest
on
of
that part,
Mhm.
there is so many different kinds of people that do the Camino.
Mhm.
It's not one group of people that do the Camino. So think of like, so people do the Camino for very different reasons. Very different reasons. Someone could literally be doing it as a way to lose weight. Someone could be doing it as a way to get over a heartbreak. Someone could be doing it to find meaning in life. So people are people. It is the Camino is not like, okay, if you are a hippie and you are like, if you meet these like 5 criterias, then you go and do Camino. That's definitely not the case.
Okay, I like Camino. I'll take the concession, but what about the other things I talked about?
The darkest one, I agree.
But not even
it's
just
the other
like,
one.
you understand the broader argument I'm trying to make, or
Uh-huh.
or like those were just examples I put off the top of my head. But even like, I'm just trying to say that subjectively it may feel like the experiences are being broad, but I'm saying from the outside, it feels like you're still in a very niche spectrum within. You're in a niche part of the spectrum. You're in a very, very small niche area.
And what so let's say that is true. What impact does that have? Like, what does that mean?
Well, that comes back to my whole point with the stream A and the stream B. I think the impact that has is that you start to become distant from the rest of society. You become like, your perspective of the world is shaped by the very niche activities that you partake in. And I'm saying, as a result, you're becoming a hippie, and in the path of becoming a hippie, you're becoming further from the rest of society. Coming back to the first definition that we made. Like, I think as a result, you're becoming you're becoming ostracized, and it becomes harder to relate, and it becomes harder for other people to relate to you. Like, that comes back to my first point.
So do you think my ability, like from your experience of being a closed part of my life in the last year, do you think I'm less able to relate to people now than I was before? Do you think that's true? Because I don't think that's true. I still don't know. I don't quite agree with the effect that you say it has.
Maybe I think it becomes harder for other people to relate to you, and it becomes harder for you to understand. And then this is all assumptions and judgments. Like,
No, we're just discussing things.
we're just for fun. But I think the feeling I get is, the more and more you go deep into these experiences, the less and less you realize. Sometimes you say something and it sounds fucking crazy, but you don't realize how crazy it sounds, because to you it's just normal. To you, you've been in these environments for so long.
So like an echo chamber.
Kind of an echo chamber. I think and it's not your fault, but it's the more and more you're in these environments, the more, like, you just say something about anything. Some experience you had or some observation about the world, and to someone who hasn't been to these activities, you sound like a crazy person. And they label you as a hippie. And then as a result, you're ostracized. As a result, once you get that label of hippie from the rest of society, your ability to experience or interact with a big proportion of the rest of society is limited. So in an ideal world, that wouldn't happen. In an ideal world, you wouldn't be judged, you wouldn't be ostracized, you wouldn't be labeled, you wouldn't be put into a box. But what I'm trying to get at is, I'm a realist, and what I'm saying is, the more and more you go down this path, as a result, the more isolated you become, and the more you become attracted to just stay in these little niche groups for the rest of your life. And if you're happy to do that, that's great. But I like to believe that connecting with people from different colors and different shapes and different sizes is what makes living beautiful. So I personally wouldn't want to go down that path.
Mm. Like I get what you're saying, but I still don't quite agree with it. So I don't know. Something's like not landing. What's not
Maybe
landing is like, so I, for instance, I went to a tech sort of event
Mhm.
and not too long ago. So people there are very techy,
Mhm.
like into their crypto, and they work like in the tech area. And so I know someone that goes into that is connected to that group, and he invited me. So I'm sort of the only non-techie person there.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of good chats and deep connections with people there that I literally so far from where I am in my life. Miles far, far. Like I don't know too much about tech, really. Like, my knowledge of tech is not there. It's not a world I live in, but that's the world they live in all the time. Like that's they live and breathe tech. Like I live and breathe, let's call it hippie or spirituality or whatever, or psychology. Their world is tech, but we still could connect. I think connecting with someone that, think about this, me and you, do you think we connect?
Yeah.
But we don't, we disagree on lots of things, right? I think the ability to connect, you don't have to agree with someone to connect with them. I think that's just a flawed thinking. That's convenience. Like if you just want to have convenient relationships, convenient connections, yeah, that makes life easier. If you are sort of in the most generic, if you, let's say if you have a fictional person X. Person X is very generic in every way, right? So like the middle of everything. This person can sort of easily and conveniently, convenient is an important word I think here, conveniently relate to someone because they're in the middle. So if you're like on one side or the other side, there's not too much difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on a scale of like 0 to 10, they're always 5. So they maximum 5 away from anyone. But if you're like 8 or 9, you can be 8 or 9 away from someone that's 0 on that same scale. So, but I don't think that really matters for a genuine connection. You can have genuine connection. Like think about, so there's experiences that all humans have, right? So you just went on that trip and you experienced loneliness, right? Loneliness, people like there's like there's I forgot how many we have, but there's like these primary emotions that people have. Like 7 or something like that. There's 7. Let's just say 7 for the sake of it, but I don't know exactly, so don't quote me on this. But there's like primary emotions: anger, sadness, blah blah blah. That's what you relate to. I don't have to relate to the context of what really made you angry. Maybe that thing does not make me angry, but I can relate to your anger. I can relate to your frustration.
Wait, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So what you're suggesting is the context of human experience is irrelevant, and it's the shared subjective experience that helps us bridge between our differences.
Exactly. Like I don't have to have had the experience you're having to relate to you, because the experience you've had led you to feel a certain way, and I've felt similarly in a different time, maybe in completely different circumstances. but I can relate to how you're feeling in that moment.
Where so what you're suggesting is that there are actually quite a limited number of human experiences, and they just show themselves in different forms and colors and shapes.
I
Like
guess
we could do
so.
a study on this. I don't know. I'm sure there's some study somewhere.
I mean, there's. I'm telling you, I forgot the
But the
science
emotions one,
exactly.
I've seen it. Like Mark did a lot of research on that as well.
Yeah,
Mark,
so there's some studies that says there's like these primary things that happen. Like you can sort of put everything into one of these categories in the deepest level.
wait, so this reminds me of something. Like I think this is something that I thought about. Someone told me, or I thought about it by myself. I don't remember, but it's the idea that like we think our life is so special. Like we think like, oh, I'm going through a heartbreak. Like I'm so lonely. No one knows how I feel. This is so hard, blah, blah. But actually, that's if you zoom out, that is such a common experience. Or even we think like things that happen, like we think like, oh, I got on a plane. I traveled to, I don't know, I went to Mexico. Like, you know, if I compare myself to my network, I'm like, oh, I'm so unique. Like no one else has been to Mexico. But if you just zoom out a bit, you're like, what I experienced, when I got off the bus and I felt a little bit scared, I was in a new country, or when I was stressed, or when I was tired and fatigued from flying, from the jet lag. Not many of our human experiences are that unique. Like just try and think of a unique experience, Maz, that you've experienced and no one else has ever experienced on this earth. I don't
That
think that
that
exists.
that's what I'm saying. That's
No,
the whole.
exactly. I'm just
So
solidifying your point.
because you were saying by me living a more of a unique lifestyle and doing the unique things, and I'm just really emphasizing the word unique here
I
because
said
we just
niche,
talked
but
about
unique. Yeah.
niche and unique, sort of similar, right? Like niche thing,
Yeah.
like so. Um, I still like going on this walk. I might have blisters, I might have pain, and like I'm going on a pilgrim, and it's a whole thing. But at the bottom level, I might have pain. Pain is as universal
Most
as it can
common.
be. It's so common. It's
Yeah.
literally so common. And I don't. That's why I disagree with what you said. I don't see how me doing these things will make me less able to relate with other people. And that's why I say it actually makes me help to relate more because I'm gonna have more depth of my experiences. Like these things that I'm doing are pretty deep experiences.
Oh, yes, I like that.
So it's gonna increase the depth of experiences I've had. So I can then connect from a deeper part of me to someone. So I can imagine someone that somehow has never had a heartbreak, and they're like 25 or something, and they've sort of married their high school sweetheart, and they're living
Yeah.
a sort of a really good life in that
Yeah.
way, in that area of their life. They've never
Yeah.
had a heartbreak, right? And so this person's ability to relate with another person's heartbreak is kind of limited.
Yeah.
Or if someone's had some heartbreak, but the heartbreaks have been sort of quote unquote minor,
Like
like
me.
like it wasn't like a big crushing feeling for them.
No, yeah, no, I agree.
Like it wasn't a massive thing.
Mm.
But imagine now someone that's literally had a huge loss, massive loss. That person that's had the massive loss can relate to the person with little loss and can relate to the person with no loss because at some point they had no loss. So because the depth of their
Yeah.
experience is bigger, they can relate better, not
Wait,
worse.
I've come to a good conclusion based on our conversation. I think I'll take your rebuttal on board, and I disagree with what I originally said. And I think to make a more correct statement, I would say initially the perspective I took was breadth. I took a spectrum and I said, along the spectrum, your experiences are very niche and narrow, and you don't have as much breadth as you think you do. Therefore, you'll struggle to connect. However, based on our conversation, the conclusion we've come to is what's more important than breadth is depth. And, let's just say off the top of my head, let's just say there's like 80 different unique human experiences that can be experienced and felt. And if you really want to connect more with people, if you can learn to increase the depth of each one of these experiences through whatever means, whether it's through an El Camino walk or a dark cave retreat or a heartbreak, then as a result, you'll be able to connect with more people. So we conclude that it's depth over breadth.
Yeah, I like it. I'm satisfied with that. And actually, I'll just add, I just remembered. So I read a book called Atlas of the Heart, that I highly
You love that
recommend
book.
to all our
Brene Brown.
listeners. Brene
Massive fan
Brown.
of Brene Brown.
There's 87 different human experiences
So
and
I was
emotions.
close.
You're close.
Off the
87.
top of my head, I hadn't even read a book.
Yeah. And that's a really, really good book, actually. Like, so because it tells you, like, there's literally all these 87 things that you can experience at one point or another. And so if you have experienced these in good depth, then you can connect with everyone.
And the last thing I would say is, based on at least for me, the most important thing in life is connecting with other people. So that's why our conversation is so important, I think. That's just like, I just wanted to emphasize the relevance of what we're talking about. I think if you don't connect with people, then there's no point to life.
I definitely would say connection is key.
Yeah.
It is so essential. But so going back to where we sort of started a little bit before, on this whole hippie and this way of life that I'm sort of trying to sort of figure out. This is more for my own benefit, really, because I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to have a full-time job to get the stability, to have the consistency and reliance and all that stuff, or do I want to keep, because these casual jobs that I've found, I really love them. Going back to what you were talking about the thing being an end in and of itself, like the Kantian perspective. Like when I run these workshops, I feel $1 million. Like I don't need to get paid to run. So there's a question I heard someone say one time, and I really thought about this a lot. They said, if we lived in a world that money wasn't the concept, there was just ultimate abundance of everything, what would you choose to do with your time? If you can find a way to do that and sort of make ends meet with doing that, then you're living a great life. So I really thought about that. And I think these casual things that I've found that I'm doing really fit that criteria. Like when I go to these workshops, I do like these workshops for kids, 6 kids, on transition to high school, mental health, resilience, and I throw in a couple of inspiring stories, and I see them like light up and they're like excited, and some of them like come up to me afterwards and they say, I feel really inspired, thank you. And I just open up this space for them to have conversation about how they're feeling to go to high school, because some of them are anxious and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That feels like gold to me. Like every moment I'm doing that, I'm just like, this is amazing. Or like when I do these authentic relating workshops or the vulnerability workshops or all this stuff, it just feels so amazing when I'm doing it. But none of these at the moment are a stable sort of source of income that I know I'll get paid this much by this time. So it's kind of like random. Sometimes I get paid a lot, sometimes I don't get any, and it's just
I have
unstable.
a response.
Yeah, tell me.
I think, like, the only thing I'm going to say is just going back to what your friend told you. I think the benefit of doing a full-time job, in my opinion, is any form of art. Like I think if your job is what you love, I think it's art. It's not work.
Mhm.
Let's just say it sounds a bit cringe, but for the sake of this
I'll,
conversation,
I'll take it. I'll take
take
it.
it on board. And I think in order to be good at what you do, in order to excel in your art, you need time and you need commitment. And I think there's something special about I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's similar to marriage. It's like I think if you find one of these things, like the example you use with the school kids, if that was your full-time job, potentially, then you could potentially get a higher role within the company that does the job, yeah. And as
Mm,
a result, you can make a bigger impact in these kids' lives. And if you're spending more time there, then you can influence more kids, then you can become more efficient. Then maybe instead of doing 1 to 5 ratios, you do workshops for 30 people and 50 people. And so it's about the influence you have can be deeper. It comes down to the whole depth versus breadth thing that we talked
mm.
about. So I think in terms of if your goal is to do the most good, I think if you find one thing and try to excel at it, I think you'll make a bigger impact on the world. And that's my 2 cents.
No, I really like what you said about, you know, the craft. The more you put into your craft, the better you will be at your craft, and the better your product would be, whatever that would be. It doesn't have to be actual product. It can be skills, soft skills,
Exactly.
public speaking skills, whatever.
Mm.
Um,
It's
yeah,
about
I
excelling.
really resonate with that part. But also the thing is, so what if, like, at currently, the thing that I don't sort of trying to get my head wrapped around, the soft skills for these sort of different roles that I have are very similar. So I feel like whether I'm doing the high school workshop thing or the workshops I run for, like, I don't know, authentic relating or whatever, or the even NDIS support work, I feel like there's a lot of overlap. Even psychology, like studying psychology, getting my degree in Bachelor of Psychoanalysis, like I feel like there's a lot of overlap between the things I've learned and skills. But I do think I agree with your point that if I pick one and sort of go for it more, it would sort of be better still. But I'm sort of just unsure.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
just unsure.
No, and just sit on that and sink in that and I think it all comes down like have you ever had a full-time job before?
How
Like in
I
something that you really love, like in your field.
I was doing plumbing full time for a
Did you love
period
it?
of
Was
time.
it your dream come true like this shit?
Not at all.
Okay, so I think look, I think me and you are similar.
I
I
mean, it
think
was it was okay, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
no, but I think me and you are similar in the sense that you seek novelty, you seek new experience, and I think being forced to do what you love full time, it's a unique experience. So just do
Oh,
it.
actually, hang on. So I just remembered something.
I was a
So
drug lord.
remember when I was gaming?
Oh yeah, that was
So let's go to that because I was doing that as full time as you could do anything. I was doing it proper
that's
full
an
time,
addiction, bro. That's cooked.
but I was getting paid. It was my job, and it was something I
That's
loved,
crazy.
and it turned out to be like not fulfilling at all.
That's different, man. That's completely. I'm not even gonna go into why that's different. I'm not. You can figure that out yourself.
No, I know. I just wanted to throw it in there because uh,
It's like saying it's like someone going up to like a lawyer saying like, yeah, I was like smoking crack every day. Like I was pretty committed. Like surely that's the same as working full-time job. Oh my God.
uh,
But Olgie, I think we came to a pretty good
yeah,
wrap.
I really like how I'm a bit more reflective about this because I'm gonna be thinking about this a lot, especially in these 3 weeks that I'm gonna be away at this community gathering thing. And I might have more conversations around this with people and just hear other perspectives and because I'm trying to really figure this out for myself. So I feel like that really helped me. And I think I also gave you a perspective because you sort of thought
A new
like you're
perspective,
gonna you're not gonna be able to relate more with people, but we sort of debunked that. So it seemed productive.
No, very productive, very productive. Like I think, can you do a wrap up of what we talked about, like very quickly?
So we started off with me talking about the rainbow gathering, and then we went into what is a hippie. Then we talked about the full-time job thing, and we discussed about the breadth versus depth of experience and what makes you able to connect with others.
Connect and relate, yeah.
Connect and relate. Yeah. I think that's about it. Do you have
Shit.
anything else to add?
Nah, that's it. Just guys, if any of you are religious, please pray for me. I'm going to Vipassana tomorrow. I might not come back.
I'm very excited for that experience, bro.
Please, hashtag pray for Samim.
All right, bro. Take care.
Fucking fuck. Let's go. Go do meditation. Go do meditation.
I was like, man, she's not gonna be able to sit down for months. Masturbation.
Before we wrap up, I want to get my religious frustration out. I wasn't empathizing with Hitler.
Fucking fuck.
Anything you want to do, you can.
Be a professor. Wink, wink.
Clearly, you spent too much time on Pornhub.